Welcome, everyone, to the Journey to an ESOP and Beyond podcast, where it is our goal to make information and all things surrounding employee stock ownership plans understandable and accessible. I'm your host, Jason Miller, and this is my very first solo episode. So where do I begin? That was the first question that I asked myself. And really, there's so much to talk about. There's so much that can be done, so much that's already been covered. And what I don't get is, where should I start and what should I do and what should I consider? And what if I don't get the movie references right? Or should I even talk about movies? Or what if I stutter? I probably will throughout this entire episode, but we'll see. And what if my hand gestures get out of control? Do I talk about culture? Do I talk about taxes? Do I talk about life-changing retirement account balances? Do I talk about legacy? Where do I even begin? But this podcast isn't for me, it's for you. And when I put down my excitement and my anxiety, I thought that many of you listening have that same question when faced with your business succession. Where do I begin? I'm grateful that you're here, that our podcast is part of your answer. And today's episode is for you. So 3 common issues and specific actions that you can take to accelerate your succession plan on your own terms. First, let's talk about one of the big things in how do I get started? When do I get started? And I just want to encourage you that you don't have to have it all together to get started on your plan. I have a whiteboard above my computer that I take notes on during client calls, or if something comes to mind, or if I'm reading something, I'll take a quote and I'll stick it there if I don't have time to think about it or dwell on it in the moment. And I'll go back to that, and when I look up, it's there, and I'll read it. And if I have time to contemplate, then I will. And then if I feel like I'm done with that thought, I'll take it off my board, and then I'll leave space for something new. And one of the ones that's been on my board for a couple of months is, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. And just like I talked about in the beginning, there are so many things related, not just to succession planning, but to ESOPs and to any type of transaction. And what we want to do is learn. And we go and we learn, and we come to places like the podcast. And we go to Google, and we'll go to conferences, and we will pull in this information because we need it. We need information to inform our decisions. And there's nothing more important than in your financial world. There's nothing more important than your company, your business, and what you're going to do with that ownership. How that's going to manifest for you. And the idea of analysis paralysis is caught up in that quote of, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention, and you can't focus on it all. So you have access to a lot, and the more you look into it, the more confusing it gets, and also the more influence that it has on what you thought you wanted. And that leads us to kind of this second part of what people encounter, what business owners encounter in their journey their succession journey and their ESOP journey. And that's the illusion of choice. I think we're all familiar with the illusion of choice. And there's so many options, but are there that many options? There's so much out there, so many things to consider. Again, like me, with what do I talk about? And the more I think about the possibilities, the more paralyzed I become until I start moving. You have private equity and investment banking firms calling all the time. You have competitors hinting at, could there be a deal here for us? Or, if you're ever thinking about moving on, we'd love to have you in the fold. There might even be JV partners that are courting, saying, we really loved working with you on these projects or on these contracts. Give some honest consideration to letting us go ahead and acquire you. Everyone seems to be talking about it. And if you wrote down the names of all of the people and all the organizations that are calling you to buy your business or offering to sell it for you, you'd have a deck of cards worth option with a deck of cards worth of options that probably includes a few jokers. So many options. So when we think about that, do you really have all of those options, and how different are they? And I read something or heard something in a short recently around the concept of a deck of cards and 52 factorial. So 52 factorial, you take 52, you multiply it by 51 all the way down. And the number ends up being orders of magnitude larger than anything that we can comprehend or document. Really, we have no way of understanding what that number is. And the way that they demonstrate that in the card or with the deck of cards is there is no shuffle that has occurred that will occur again for like billions of years. It's ridiculous. And the number of that number that 52 factorial represents is larger than all the number of atoms in the solar system or in the universe, some very, very large number. And it's daunting when you pit it up that way. But there are steps that you can take in managing this illusion of choice. So there's one common problem that all successful business owners will face, and that's how you transition your ownership on your terms. The answer isn't more information, as we talked about. It's not more options. It's really something that you're already intimately familiar with just by the nature of your success. It takes a visionary to grow a thriving company. So distill your ideal vision of an ownership transition down into qualities that make sense for you, that mean success to you. Don't get hung up on jargon and lingo. And then, just like you've done with your company, surround yourself with the right people to execute the vision. So back to our card analogy. Define your goals, write them out on a whiteboard, a bar napkin, a legal pad, whatever you have at hand, write them out. And when you define your goals, the timing, the feeling, the financial, the personnel, etc., what you're really doing is determining what game you're going to play with that deck of cards. Your second step into breaking the illusion is to just ignore the number of cards and sort by suits. In a traditional set, you've got 4 suits, right? Clubs, spades, hearts, and diamonds. And like a deck of cards, qualities of exit options are similar, that you can associate them pretty closely with what you have. And I've mentioned before, private equity and competitors and JV partners. You have family, you have ESOPs. The number of options of exits are really limited to a few suits, if you would. And in that, there are different numbers and different values, and you get to determine what those values are for the cards that are in the suit or in the exit option that you're thinking about. And what that creates for you is that there are less actual options than it appears, and it takes away some of that daunting feeling. So you now get to pick the game, right? You get to determine the rules that you want to play by at your table for your company. And then you understand the values that you've ascribed to the various cards within the suits that you've put out in front of you. And then finally, you now get to invite who you want to play at your table. What game you're going to play and for what purpose. Don't invite players that you don't like or don't want to play your game. They want to play their own. This is your choice, your company, your goals. And it's very important for you to be able to again, distill down your vision into words that are meaningful to you and goals that are meaningful for you. Don't let anyone else dictate those for you, because that clarity of purpose, that visionary element that you've had to drive your company to the point where it is today, that makes it as important to you as it is what's going to carry you through this next phase, this next chapter of not only the company itself, but your own personal chapter. Many people are worried about making the wrong choice of all the options that are out there. So hopefully in giving you these steps to, again, define your vision and your goals, what success means to you, sorting out what options you may have, and then inviting the right people to the table, it gives you a step-by-step process to help get you started. So yet again, one of the things on my whiteboard, all of us have a lot of things that are happening in life and at work, and we have great intentions. We have great intentions with health. We have great intentions with grand plans of growth. Any aspect of life, you name it, or someone names it to you, and it brings to mind, this is what I'm doing about it. I am excited about it, or, oh, I should be doing something about it. And today's podcast and helping to bring to light this idea of where do you start on your ESOP journey? Where do you start on your succession journey? The steps can be there, but you still have to take them. We can lay it out. You can lay them out. The advisors that you have around you can do that. But unless you take action on the intention, then nothing occurs. And so another of these phrases that I've had on my whiteboard for a little while just says, 6 months from now, you either have 6 months of progress or 6 months worth of excuses. This was for me in a physical fitness area of my life. And I can wake up every day and I can do the same thing. I can go, oh, I didn't make it to do my routine this morning for whatever reason. And it could be a reason, it could be an excuse. And if I look ahead and I go, where do I want to be in 6 months? I want to be further down the road of my ideal progress than I was 6 months ago. I don't want to look back and go, I've gotten nowhere. But every morning I woke up and said, you know what? I just couldn't get up today. I couldn't show up today. I had to take the dog out for an early walk today and didn't get very far. I had to come into work early today. Whatever it may have been, those excuses stack up to nothing. And then I have no progress and I have lost time. We get back to that common problem of how will you transition your ownership on your terms? That on your terms piece is probably the most vital, because no one likes terms being dictated to them. I didn't want to have my physical fitness become a priority because a doctor told me about if I didn't do this, this, or this, then my life would be shortened. Inherently, I know that I don't have all the time in the world. Inherently, I know I have to keep or maintain my physical fitness so that I have less health problems and I can try to do life on my terms. And the same thing applies when you're thinking about transitioning your business. What do you do with that? How do you have succession at an ownership level? And how do you strategize for it? And what should you be doing about it? This gets to some of the cliches around, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. Or for podcasts like Journey to an ESOP and beyond, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And going back to what is that first step? Distill your ideal vision of an ownership transition down to qualities that make sense for you. And when you do that, let that visionary part of your brain kick into its gear and its natural drive and take you from that first step to the next step, and then to the next one, and then to the next one. And in 6 months, any progress is better than no progress. And understand that that 6 months doesn't have to be a milestone of, I wish to completely transition out 6 months from now. That may be the case for some of you. And for some of our listeners, 6 months of progress towards something that seems so far in the future may not seem worthwhile. But I would offer to you that those same steps will bring more clarity of purpose for the success you have already achieved in your business. Good exit planning is just good business planning. And if you're able to do both at the same time, then you will benefit from those activities and those months of progress toward your goal. So these things take time, and they take intention, and they require action, even a little action. So when we think about breaking those down into those bite-sized pieces, it all comes back to the beginning. So I mentioned earlier that getting clarity of purpose around your succession. Now you can kind of break that down into those bite-sized pieces: private equity, ESOP, management buyout, learning who needs to be on the team, making a call a day to meet some of those providers, whatever it takes. Do one thing a day. Even one thing a week is better, but continue to take action, because that action will create more questions, but they will be focused questions that will help you get more clarity of vision. Since you're here, again, that goal may be transitioning your company to an ESOP. And you may say, Jason, I'd really, really like to learn more about how an ESOP could be right for me and my company. I would say, oh, listener, where do I begin? So thank you for listening today, and I hope that you found this helpful and engaging. I would love to hear from you. So please reach out through the website at journeytoanesop.com with topics that you would like me to cover, that questions that you would have for me, or just to explore what's on your mind. Like, subscribe, share this episode with a friend, and we will see you next time on Journey to ESOP.